What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of the 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys, to the best entertainment related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. Black Widow is another one of those movies, guys, that's up and coming, very highly anticipated amongst the community and, Marvel fans at large. And it's another case of where is this movie at this point? Because, look, we've talked about Black Widow, the things that we know about the movie at this point. But the things that we don't know are, is it going to be able to stick to its, new release date, or is it going to be pushed back even further because of the pandemic and such? Or is it going to be able to, is it going to be able to stay there? Because there's a lot of question marks here, whether it stays or it gets moved even further into next year. And we've talked about this, guys, ad nauseum at this point, because there's a lot of movies out there that have been pushed back to later into 2020. And then a lot of movies are also moving into 2021. And those movies that are slated for 2021, there's a possibility that they're going to actually get pushed back, even further into 2021 or even into 2022. So where is Black Widow at this point? Let's talk about it. So currently, guys, Black Widow has a release date of November 6th of 2020, and it was pushed back from a date of April, which was its original release date, was going to be in April of 2020, but it got pushed back due to the pandemic going on, which, with good reason, guys. Obviously, Marvel wants to bring this movie out theatrically, which I think it's a movie that needs to be seen in theaters. But here's the deal, guys. It's being pushed back to November. And we all know that with many other movies being pushed back, the competition is going to be incredibly stiff at this point. I mean, look at just the fact that, No Time to Die, the new James Bond movie's coming out, amongst a number of other movies are coming out that are big blockbuster movies. And so what I'm getting at here is that Black Widow is going to do very well at the movie theaters, I'm sure, but it would have done a lot better had it just, normal times would have, kind of ensued. I think it would have done incredibly well for Marvel as a studio. But now that it's going up against more competition, the question remains, is this a movie that's going to do really that well? I mean, I'm sure it's still going to do well, but is it going to justify the $150 to $200 million budget that it costed to make this movie? That's the question that we're all going to be kind of asking ourselves, guys, because I do believe that it will. I mean, I think that this is going to be a fantastic movie. I'm excited about it. I really am. But could it be one of those movies that doesn't do very well in the theaters? I don't think so. When we see like the success of like Wonder Woman and other superhero movies out there that are just solo superhero movies, I think Black Widow is one of those movies that people are really excited to see. And I think from the trailers alone, it looks really, really good. But here's the thing I want to get at, guys, is this movie still on, right? It's still happening, and it's probably, basically done at this point. I mean, maybe they're doing some last, touch-ups and such, because the movie was going to come out in April, so obviously it would have been done at that point. But now that they pushed it back to November, maybe they're changing a few things here or there, but it's pretty much just waiting to be released. At the end of the day, though, guys, I think that don't, take the date and think that's absolutely going to stick, the November 6, 2020 release date. Take it with a pinch of salt, because I do think that there's a possibility that Black Widow will be pushed into 2021 simply because of the pandemic going on. We don't know if there's going to be a resurgence. There's obviously a possibility that it'll actually come, be brought to an earlier date, that being like October or September, simply because we're seeing movies like Tenet, and we're seeing other movies that are going to be coming out into theaters that are pretty much sticking to, near their release dates. And that's a big deal, because what that's telling you is that they're going to have, the movies are going to become, movie theaters are going to be reopened, and people are going to be going to them. And maybe some of these movies, just to get away from the competition, will actually release their movies earlier than keep them in November. So there is some, possibility that it could get pushed back even further, or it could actually be released sooner than what the release date is stating at this point. But that's a big question mark, guys, is how this pandemic is, it's just changing so many different things. And one of those is the movie industry at large. I mean, so many movies were put on, an indefinite hiatus. And then, of course, now a lot of them, whatever stage of development they're in, that being like, pre-production or principal photography or post-production, a lot of these movies, they were halted for a period of time, and now that things are starting to kind of get back to some form of normalcy, but it still feels like we might be a little ways from something that's fully normal, right? And so I think that as time goes, we're going to get more information. I'll be sure to keep you guys all up to speed as more information comes out. But just know, guys, that Black Widow is definitely going to be coming out at some point or another. It's hard to say if it's going to be able to stick to the November 6th date or if it's going to get pushed back into 2021 or if it's going to come back a little bit closer. That being like in, October, September, somewhere along those lines. It's hard to say, but nonetheless, I'm sure it's going to be going to theaters and it should be coming out sooner rather than later. And if it doesn't, then we might see a direct to, streaming services release date, that being like with, Disney Plus. And that would probably really be a test subject to see how it does and how many new subscribers they get and just how much revenues they're making through Disney Plus as a whole. But that's another conversation for another day. What do you guys think? What are you most excited about with Black Widow? And do you think it's going to be able to stick to its November 6th release date? Or do you think it'll come back a little bit or be pushed further out? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Black Widow content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. My history with Max Payne goes way back, guys, to the original Xbox. Absolutely loved the original Max Payne game. Max Payne 2 came out. I enjoyed it, not as much as the first. And then the third game came out, and I still didn't enjoy it as much as the original, but I still really respect and love this franchise as a whole. And now looking ahead, guys, we've talked on the YouTube channel about Max Payne 4 and the hopes that it'll come out at some point or another and be at least on Rockstar Games' radar. And so you guys can check out all of those videos on the YouTube channel. But in this specific segment of the show, I want to talk about the top 5 things that we want in Max Payne 4. And when I say we, guys, I'm mainly going to be giving my opinion here. And I know some of you are probably going to share similar opinions, but if you don't, be sure to let us know what you guys want to see in Max Payne 4 in the comment section down below. So let's get into it. So really quick, guys, obviously Max Payne 4 has not been confirmed. There's been rumblings that this is a project that's being worked on at some capacity at Rockstar. Now, obviously, the rumor is that Rockstar is going to release GTA 6 next, which would make sense. And then it sounds like, Bully 2 was the game that they were working on, but then, of course, that got canceled. And so obviously, there's only a few games that you can really think of outside of like new IPs would be either Max Payne 4, LA Noire 2, Bully 2, which got canceled, obviously. You have Manhunt. You have a number of other titles out there. But I would say that all in all, guys, Max Payne 4 makes the most sense to me if you're not going to do a Bully 2 because Max Payne has a pretty large fan base. I would say it's a bigger fan base actually than Bully or LA Noire. But nonetheless, I think that it's next kind of in line here because I don't think they're going to make GTA 6 and then make a, Red Dead Redemption 3 or something. I think they're going to take their time with the sequel to Red Dead Redemption 2. But nonetheless, this is going based on, guys, if the game comes out, what we want to see. So let's get into it. So number 1, guys, for me, at number 1 is the continuation or a new story. So it's kind of a double, there's 2 sides to this. For me, I wouldn't mind seeing a continuation of the current story or a new story altogether. And so what I'm getting at, guys, is if you continue the story, who knows where it could go, right? I would love them just to surprise me. But at the end of the day, the other thing I wouldn't mind is seeing almost like going back to the early days of Max Payne when, of course, he was, just like early on in his career, let's put it that way. And I really would love to kind of explore that more, kind of like even before that of the events of the first Max Payne. I don't know if it's enough to make a story of, but I think it would be really interesting to see him like from a childhood age up until he started, working for his current job and like all of those things. So I'm just saying, guys, that I believe that if we got a, somewhat of a new story, but more so like a prequel, I think that would be really interesting. And then either that or a continuation. The other idea would be if you had a continuation, I would love to see Max Payne. He continues, his rampage, of course, between different, kind of getting his revenge and all of that. But I would also like to see, him passing the torch on to another character, whether that be, who knows, does he have a son, or is it, whatever the case might be, I would love to see Max Payne pass the torch, or, we get control of like a new character, and that new character takes us into like Max Payne 5 and moving forward with the franchise. Now, I don't know if they would do something like that, because what I'm thinking of here is like Gears of War. When you look at Gears of War, you saw Marcus Phoenix. He passed the torch on to his son, JD Phoenix, after Gears of War 3 and when we got to Gears of War 4. And then, of course, JD passes the torch on to KD as in Gears 5. And so what I'm getting at here, guys, is that even though we love these characters, sometimes it's time to kind of have that one last go around, and then one character kind of, move, is still a part of the story and such, but you can kind of start playing as a new character and kind of take the helm with someone else. So I think that would be really interesting as well. Number 2, guys, for me would be, regardless of which way they kind of twist and turn the story, whether that's a new story, whether that's, a continuation, prequel, whatever it might be, I think it's really important that you have 3 core components to that story. Having new characters, new enemies, and new locations. I think that's huge, guys. I would love to see some new characters involved. I would love to see some old characters, come back in the series. But I also would like to see some new characters that you start to grow and, kind of grow on you and you start to enjoy. I want to see new enemies as well. I think that's something that's really important to kind of keep it fresh. And then new locations, of course. We had like New York City, of course, in the first game. And so they've kind of like, as we've moved throughout the course of the story, I think it's important that we see, different locations. And that kind of leads me to number 3, guys, which is a semi-open world or a full open world would be something that I would love to see out of Max Payne 4. So what I'm getting at, guys, is that, it would be really interesting to really be able to explore. It would make the world feel more real. And I think that's something that goes for many games out there, but Max Payne is certainly, a game and a franchise that I think would be really awesome to be a semi-open world or a full open world. I think that would be really special, being able to explore and kind of go at your own pace and have side missions and, of course, like the main storyline and all of those things to create just more where it feels not so much just grounded, but it also feels more real. And that leads me to number 4, guys, which aside from the story, the other big thing that I think is important is multiplayer aspects of a game. And so when we look at multiplayer, Max Payne 3 obviously had multiplayer, but I think when we look at GTA Online, Red Dead Online, a Max Payne Online would be something special in my opinion. Going on to, some different missions and taking out crime syndicates or whatever it might be with you and your friends or just by yourself online. I think a Max Payne Online makes the most sense to me personally. I would love to see that moving into Max Payne 4, having like a Max Payne Online, having some co-op missions, having, of course, outside of those, the campaign itself. I think that would be really cool and it'd bring people back to the game after you're done being the main story, which we've always talked about. Having a full package deal is really important, and Rockstar Games certainly does that. So Max Payne Online, I hope, is something we get in Max Payne 4. And then coming in at number 5, guys, kind of following up on the Max Payne Online ordeal, I think having customization options as well as earnable items. So like when you're playing the multiplayer aspects, guys, I think it's really important for people to be drawn in and continue playing the game, having ways in which you can customize your characters, being able to also, have like different earnable items within the game, like when you're looking at the leaderboard, or you're looking at the game lobby, when you're like in the loading screens, you can see other people's emblems and their logos and like their ranks and stuff to see like how good of a player they are or how much time they've put into the game. That's all really important, I think, to building community and such within this game, and really any in general. But I definitely would like to see some new customization options. I think that would be really cool. And then, of course, having earnable items in the game. Not all like, not having like a bunch of microtransactions. I mean, those are most likely going to be in something like this anyway. But what I'm getting at more so is things that you can earn, right? Outside of paying for. I mean, actual earnable items, because I think that really brings people back to the game over and over again. And guys, that rounds out my top 5. The only other one that I would even mention, even though I didn't put it on the top 5, would be a free-to-play model for Max Payne 4. Not necessarily that the entire game is free-to-play, even though that would be awesome, and I think it would absolutely make the community explode. But I also think that just having like Max Payne Online, or certain aspects of the game being free to play that anybody can access, I think that could really help continue growing the community in a major way. So that would be kind of one of those that I didn't add in there, but one that I would also like to see as well. But let me know, guys, in the comment section below, what is it that you guys want to see out of Max Payne 4? What are your top 5 things that you want in the game? Let me know. And for more Max Payne 4 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. I've been talking a lot about Phase 5, guys. This is, of course, the recruitment challenge, the most famous recruitment challenge in all of Call of Duty history that has graced our community a couple of times. And we also had Phase 1, of course, which they picked out one player. But with Phase 5, typically speaking, the people that are recruited to the team are trick shotters and snipers within the Call of Duty community. And so, look, when I went for the recruitment challenge in the past, I kind of didn't even do responses necessarily for Phase 5, just because I wasn't very good at trick shotting and sniping. And so, in this segment of the show, guys, I think, one thing I wanted to mention was I've mentioned that I'm going to be going for the recruitment challenge when it comes out here in 2020, which is what they're hyping it up for, is this year they're going to be coming out with the recruitment challenge. I'm going to talk about why I'm going for it. And, the reasoning is that it's kind of going under the assumption that they're going to make this more accessible than ever before. I don't believe that this Phase 5 is going to be strictly based upon trick shotting and snipers in the Call of Duty community, and here's why. Trick shotting and sniping, I believe it definitely needs to have some form or some part in the new Phase 5. And I think that's really important because it's what Phase 5 was built on, was Call of Duty trick shotting and sniping. And so I think it needs to have that, but I don't think it's going to be specific to that. I think that it's also going to be accessible to those who play Fortnite. I think it's going to be accessible to those who are streamers, to those who are content creators like myself. I think it's going to be accessible to many more people. And the reason being is because it's going to make it a lot bigger. It's not just going to be based around a niche community. It's going to be based around that niche community, but also other communities as well. Whether we're talking Fortnite trick shotters or Fortnite, just players in general, or if we're talking about streamers who play Call of Duty or stream, Fortnite, or if it's, content creators who make content around these games. Whatever it is, guys, I think that it's going to be the most accessible Phase 5 we've ever seen. And so, at least that's my hope, because I think it could be one of the biggest gaming events as a whole, guys, just because, we're talking they're going to get thousands upon thousands of submissions if we're talking this is going to be, based around multiple games, and it's going to be based around also streamers and content creators, not just trick shotters and snipers. Like I said, though, I definitely want there to be some form of, trick shotting and sniping in this, because that's what it was built on. And what I'm getting at is, I've said this in the past, guys, I would love to see them pick up one trick shotter, one sniper, kudos to the past, but also that, there's still people that have been trick shotting all these years, right, hoping that Phase 5 comes back. But I also want to see one streamer recruited, one content creator recruited, and then, of course, a Fortnite player recruited. I think you spread it out between multiple different, sectors, so to speak, within those communities, and I think that would do really well. Now, if you wanted to say, well, we don't want a streamer and a content creator because the players are most likely going to become content creators and streamers, then I would say, you kind of split it up maybe 50-50 between Fortnite and Call of Duty, or maybe you add Apex Legends in there or something else in there, Valorant or something. But I really think, though, guys, that it's going to be more accessible than ever before to everyone, that that everyone's going to be able to go for this thing regardless of how good you are at one specific thing, like trick shotting or sniping or something. Not everyone's really good at those things, and so I think that FaZe is kind of looking at looking at that. And the other thing was, guys, when the last time that Phase 5 was announced was with FaZe Banks, FaZe Rain, and FaZe Adapt, I believe. And they were sitting in front of the camera, they were explaining that Phase 5's coming back, but it's going to be a Fortnite recruitment challenge. It wasn't going to be it wasn't going to be trick shot and sniping. They were moving away from Call of Duty. They wanted to find 5 of the best Fortnite players in the world, not really looking for Call of Duty anymore. So we don't know all the details behind that because the video got deleted, of course, and it never saw the light of day, right? But obviously that tells me that Fortnite was in the back of their mind. And so I believe that Fortnite is going to play a role in Phase 5 moving forward here, and it's not just going to be based around Call of Duty trick shotting and sniping. So that's why I'm going for it, because I believe everyone is going to have a chance at this thing. I think that they're going to add more rounds to it. I think there might be like a top 1,000 instead of a top 100. There'll be, multiple rounds that'll go throughout the entire summer, maybe the rest of the year. And I think there's a great opportunity for me, as well as all these other streamers, all these other content creators out there, to maybe have a shot at joining the team, or at least going deep into the recruitment challenge, who are just as passionate about, about trying to join the team, or just as passionate about gaming in general. We just might not be as good at trick shotting and sniping as some people are. But let me know, guys. Are you guys going to be going for the Phase 5 recruitment challenge? And if you guys are, let me know what you're trying to join as. Are you trying to join as a trick shot or a sniper, a Fortnite player, Apex Legends player, a streamer, content creator? What is it that you guys are trying to join as? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Phase 5 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. A question I've been asking myself for a while now, guys, ever since Apex Legends was released, does this mean that Respawn are moving away from the Titanfall games and just going to be focusing on Apex Legends? And it was a big time question for me, because I like the Titanfall games and I want to see the continuation of them moving forward. And don't get me wrong, I really enjoy Apex. I think it's fun, and, I would love to see more game modes outside of Battle Royale and, so on and so forth. But I do enjoy and respect really what they're building as far as Apex Legends is concerned. Now, one thing that I have mentioned in the past, guys, when talking about Titanfall and the continuation of this franchise moving forward, I've talked about, just what this means for the franchise, that being Apex coming out the time that it did, and what this means kind of for the future, because Apex Legends, of course, is within the Titanfall universe. And so does this mean that because of the success of Apex Legends, could it lead to a Titanfall 3, or just a continuation in some form or another of the Titanfall universe? And I'm going to just really quick, right off the bat, the answer is yes, guys. Here's why. Apex Legends has done incredibly well. When it came out, guys, it did so well. I mean, in my opinion, it was a better Battle Royale than Fortnite. And I'll tell you, the reason I liked it more than Fortnite was because Fortnite was so much based upon the building aspect, which if you weren't good at building, basically you didn't even really want to play the game at that point. Apex was a little bit, not as complex as far as like having a element like building, and it was still a lot of fun. First-person shooter. I love the first-person shooter genre as well. And so all in all, it felt like it felt similar to like Titanfall, and it just, it even had some feels of like Call of Duty and such. And so I really enjoyed it. And at the end of the day, it comes down to what everyone else thought about it. And lots of people really like it. It's got a big concurrent fan base and lots of players that are playing it on a daily basis. And what this did, though, was it really put the notice on Titanfall. See, in the past, guys, Titanfall, I feel that there was significant problems there with the Titanfall games because they would market them in pretty well, but then they would release them around the time that Call of Duty and Battlefield are both coming out, like the same week or something. And so when I look at that and I see that they would be releasing Titanfall around the same time that Call of Duty and Battlefield are coming out, obviously they're trying to make a statement that they're better than Call of Duty and Battlefield. And look, not saying that they aren't, but the thing is that they didn't have as big of a fan base yet built up, compared to that of Call of Duty and Battlefield that have been building fan bases for years at this point. So what I'll say is this. Apex Legends has, since it's been so successful, I believe that it absolutely will greenlight a Titanfall 3. And because people are going to want it, because now there's a lot of people are starting to play Titanfall because of Apex Legends. They're trying it out. They're seeing where they're getting all these different weapons and all the, the movement system and everything. People are trying it out. And so Titanfall 3 would actually have a really good opportunity to be successful because Apex Legends could obviously point people in the right direction. They could point people right to Titanfall 3 and, they could be marketing Titanfall 3 for free on their own platform, on their own game. They can basically be promoting Titanfall 3. And how cool would that be to have such a massive juggernaut of a game like Apex Legends at this point that's promoting Titanfall 3? Titanfall 3 would probably succeed just by that alone. And then some outside marketing, if you had a really, a fun campaign, you had really good multiplayer modes within, within Titanfall 3, it could be really special. Now, on the flip side of that, Respawn may not want to split up the community between, Titanfall 3 and Apex Legends. Maybe they just want to continue with Apex Legends. I just think that here's my problem with Battle Royales as a whole. Not that they're not evolving over time, but the fact of the matter is that there needs to be more game modes. So I'll give you an example. Call of Duty Modern Warfare comes out, guys, as has a full campaign, which is probably the best campaign in my opinion in the entire franchise. On top of, they've got some co-op modes, that being like Spec Ops, and then on top of that, they have multiplayer, and a bunch of multiplayer modes to say the least. And then later on, they add Warzone, which ends up becoming the biggest battle royale for a period of time. And so what I'm getting at here is this, is that having more sometimes is much better than having less. So Warzone is great and you have fun playing it, but when you're sick of playing that, you can play the multiplayer. You're sick of playing that, you can play the Spec Ops. Sick of playing that, you can play the campaign over and look for all the intel. Whatever it is, guys, there's so many ways to connect with Call of Duty. It's why it's been the best-selling game every single year for who knows how long at this point, guys. It's been a long time. And so Titanfall and Apex Legends in particular, I gotta say, Apex is a lot of fun, but it would be great if they added some other game modes, like some team deathmatch, and they added, just other modes outside of, the Battle Royale mode there, and you have some other modes, like some new maps and things of that nature, to really bring people back to continue playing, the game, but you're also playing, some other maps. You're trying other things out besides just the Battle Royale side of things. Because I think the problem is that Battle Royale is going to get stale over time if there's not more to kind of hold these games up. I've said it forever. With Fortnite, sure, the events are great, but they need to have other maps, other ways that you can connect with Fortnite. Sure, they have Save the World, but I mean more like smaller maps, some small maps that you can just play, team deathmatch, no building aspects, things of that nature. I know that they do different game modes, but it's all on the same map, guys. It's all on this big map, and you know, and they try to change things up, but I personally think having more modes, having more maps and things of that nature certainly help a franchise. So Apex, if they're not going to do those things, I absolutely think they should do Titanfall 3, and they could market it right on, you know, the Titanfall 3 interface, and there you have it. Titanfall 3 has a very good chance of being successful. Move it away from the release date of like of Call of Duty and Battlefield. Have its own release date. Guys, it could be something special. And so, in my opinion, Apex Legends could very well lead to Titanfall 3, guys, because of the success of it, but also that people are wanting more of the story. People are wanting to see where, you know, things can materialize, and I think people also want to play something outside of the Battle Royale side of it. But with that being said, guys, let me know in the comment section below, what do you guys want to see? Do you guys want to see a Titanfall 3, or is Apex Legends enough for all of you? Let me know in the comment section below, and for more Titanfall 3 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.